Hello and welcome to LiveLink and Unreal Importing the Animations tutorial for RADProd. This tutorial will cover how to use LiveLink with Unreal, what you can do with it, and how to import animations into Unreal from Maya with the Panther. To start off, LiveLink has to be done in Maya 2019 because it only works with 2019 and older, and want to have the most current version as much as possible. On the drive, Shashank, one of the other interns, has put in the files that you need, which are two different scripts. Once you get those downloaded onto your machine, you'll know where you put them. Then you'll go into Plugin Manager. You'll have to browse and find where they are and load them. When you eventually have them loaded in, all you have to do is search LiveLink. You'll see the two, and you want them to auto-load just so you don't have to do this step every time. When they auto-load, you'll see this at the bottom every time. To get it to work, you type in Maya LiveLink UI, and it is case sensitive, so it's a capital M, L, L, U, and I. Once you hit enter, you'll get this little window, and in this window, what you will eventually do is this is for the Maya part. So first, what we'll do is when you have all this set up, you'll just sit tight for a minute, and what you'll do is you'll take the file on the drive called LLTest3. You'll want is import in Unreal LLTest3. And what this is this is the mesh of the Panther to work with in Unreal. You'll want it as a skeletal mesh, or mesh, geometry and skinning weights. Won't select anything here. These will all be defaults. You exported time won't matter, and the rest of this is just defaults. And what you'll do is you'll import all. And what this does is it imports it into Unreal. And the reason we do it as a skeletal mesh because that's what you need to use in order to have a skeleton and animation. If you do it as just geometry, you won't be able to use it. If you do it just as a skeleton, you won't be able to use it. These are just warnings. You can all of them, but you'll get these in here as well as the textures. The textures aren't important right now. So what you'll want to do is double click the skeletal mesh. It'll open it in a separate window. With this how it is, I believe you'll see it with bones on. Because they're messy, I personally turn them off. You'll have none. And what you want to do is, back in Maya, you'll click the middle bone here for the chest. You'll go to add selection, and it'll add it here as front hip. And you see how it says no connection? So what you'll want to do is, back in Unreal, over. You want preview controller, and first of all, you want LiveLink downloaded from the marketplace of Epic, and you'll have to make sure it is turned on. So what you'll initially have to do is go to Window, leave its window. You'll go to Edit Plugins, search for LiveLink here, and you'll have to make sure it's enabled. And once you do that, you'll see in Windows section, LiveLink. Click it, brings up this window. You'll click Source, Message Bus Source, and it should pop up if you have it activated correctly in your mind. Click that, it'll import what you have. Move this over to the side, but what this lets you do, go to Preview Controller, LiveLink Preview Controller, subject name, and this is the joint that you selected. And once you click that, this should mimic whatever you're doing in Maya. So right now I'm dragging across the animation in Maya. I am not doing this in Unreal. Just hit play. Just plays. And the coolest thing is if you enable camera sync, move around in Maya and it moves around in Unreal as well. So this allows you to make animations. So this is the general gist if you're just testing out animations. But something else you can do, let's say I don't like this, right? I can take the right paw, and on this frame, I think it should be back more. So let me move it back. Yes, I know this looks wrong and is incorrect. Let's say that's what we wanted. So what we can do is that we have this now as the animation. If we wanted, you can hit record in Unreal, and you tell it where you want it and what do you want it named. So this could be new walk, right? So new walk, and you just want it in the root, big root folder that you see. So you'll hit OK. It starts recording. Hit play. Let's say you want it to walk twice. Stop recording. And when you exit this, we now have a new animation file called new walk. Something you can do is you can drag your object out, minimize this, and you'll go down to here where it says animation. Change it from animation blueprint to just use animation asset. That way you can just put whatever you want. And you can drag this into here, or if you can't find it here for whatever reason, you can hit the drop down and your animations will be the only thing that show here. So we'll do new walk. It's not doing anything, right? So what you want to do is you want to hit play, and it should just play your animation. There we go. So that's what you can do with LiveLink. Onto the exporting as Alembic part of the tutorial. So what you'll want to do first is when you'll go back to Maya, and what you'll want to do that make sure there's a section of the Panther that is a problem when trying to import into Unreal, and it's this face right here, because this face has 8 vertices on it, and when you try to import as an Alembic, it has a problem with 8 vertices. It'll give you an error saying 8, expecting 4 or 3. So what you'll do is I'd select edge, go to mesh tool, go to multi-cut, and you'll grab this vertice, hit enter. Grab this one, hit enter. And what you want to do with this is that it should be the last step just before exporting, because it causes you to drop extreme frame rate when testing your animations due to it adding new faces and adding new edges. So that will be the last step before you export. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to make sure that NURBS, curves, joints, and IK handles are hidden so that you don't select them. And when you're going to export as Alembic, what you have to do is you have to select all the geometry. You'll go to Cache, Alembic Cache, export selection as Alembic, but you'll click the options box the first time for sure. The time slider option is selected because that should be just your animation down here. And you leave all of this alone, but when you come down to here, you want UV right selected, right face sets selected, world space selected, right UV sets selected, and Ogawa selected. This combination works according to some forums and my own personal testing, and this is the best way to do it. So when you export selection, you'll put it wherever you've been putting your stuff, and you'll want to name it something like tutorial test 1. And it'll export your animation along your slider. And when you move it into Unreal, we have 2 ways of importing it, and if one is ideal and one is a backup. The ideal, it just makes it easier to add animations to it. With the other backup, everything is on its own file, so you can't put an animation onto the skeleton. You have to just put in a new model. So once that's done, you'll go over to Unreal, you'll import. This is the one we had, and if you import this correctly, you'll see a bunch of items, which are all the selected items. You don't want to uncheck anything, but you'll select skeletal. This is ideal. You tick merge meshes so that all the things stay together. These will all be defaults. This is what you already changed. This will be the frame ended. That'll always be different. And you don't check any other things, make them different, and then you hit import. And if you don't, like I said before, if you don't stitch up those segments on the rear end, you'll get an error at this point, and it won't import mesh. And then you have to go back, fix it, and re-import it. But when this is done importing, you get a skeletal mesh, an animation, and a skeleton. So to check this, you can double click on the skeletal mesh, or you can just drag it into your scene. But when you're here, if you want to check, you can see that the eyes are in place, the claws are in place, and everything. And if you check the animation, you can just click over here, and your animation should be playing. So this one's the walk cycle, and you can just check it that way. Another way, drag the skeletal mesh in, rotate it as needed, which you will have to rotate this, and then hit play. I'm sorry, I lied. Just select it, go to here, go to the animation, go to animation asset, and then put in the animation onto it. So then when you hit play, it'll do the walking it. If this, for whatever reason, let's say it didn't import correctly as a skeletal mesh, something's off, so let me show you an example. If you do it incorrectly, and let's say you export all as a limbic, you get the eyes in the wrong place, the teeth in the wrong place, and a bunch of errors. But the problem with that, and it usually has a backup, but the backup sometimes doesn't work, so I'll show you an example. With this, let's say, oh, it imported, great, but when you put it out here, there are eyes over there, right? The eyes are over there, and so on and so forth. Let's say you did that wrong. That means you have to go back into Maya and make sure you export selection, not all. Let's say, oh darn, that didn't work. So you delete the skeletal mesh. Oh no, the skeleton's wrong. So what you'll do is you'll import the same file, and you'll go to geometry cache, and you can tick this if you would like to. It's a backup to the backup. This will stay different. You don't change anything else, and you import. This does it imports everything into one individual file, and so what you can do with this is you drag it into the world, and it has the animation on it. It has everything in place as it should, and you just test it. The only problem with this is that you have to put in a new model if you're changing the animations, and that covers the exporting tutorial and the LiveLink basic tutorial.